time to open up your eyes, 'cause we were made to fly. We can do anything. We'll shine like the sun, the moon, the stars. We can go anywhere. They'll see us no matter where we are, 'cause we got the fire. We got the fire. Show the world the impossible is possible. Show the world the impossible is possible. There's a moment when you understand. You don't gotta follow all the plans. It's time to open up your hands.
All right. Let me. Nope, that's not it. I should have it by now, right? Let's see. Give me a second, everyone. I see y'all coming in. Come on in. There we go. There we go. All right. I'm doing all the production today myself. So y'all come on in. We're getting ready to get started in just a few moments. We have a lot to talk about. Again, thank you for joining me on Coffee Talk with Trey, our Facebook page, Coffee Talk with Trey, and also the school board page for Post 3, Leroy Trey Hutchins. We will no longer be streaming on my personal Facebook page, as the only way I can connect with you in the chat is if we're using these pages versus my personal page. So, which is why we're making these changes, and thank you for adjusting with us accordingly. Let me know you're here. Drop something in the chat. Good morning, so I'll know who all is here. I see you coming in. Good deal. All right. While we're getting started, let me first say this. This is super important, and so and exciting all at the same time. So we have a great partnership with Georgia Power, the Southern Company. And I'm so thankful for that partnership through a good friend of mine, Miss Odessa Archibald, and also Miss Deborah Pendergrass. And they are very supportive of the South Cobb community and ensuring that we are supported. And so they were able to allow several of our educators from Pebblebrook High School, from Lindley Middle School, to participate in the Ron Clark Academy STEM training. And if you know anything about the Ron Clark Academy and some of the things that they bring to the table in regards to professional development for educators, you'll know that this was a great experience for those educators. Under the leadership of Dr. Dana C. Giles, when she was the principal at Lindley Middle School, we put together, with help of the community, the educators in the building, they started a STEM academy for our students. And if you know anything about STEM and that process, because last night at our Board of Education meeting, we actually recognized maybe 4 schools who have gone through the Cobb School STEM certification. It's a lot of work. It takes a lot of buy-in from the community. It takes buy-in from our educators who have to now go through a different regimen of thought processes and training around being STEM minded and STEM being immersed into the curriculum, whether it's English, math, science, even enrichment. And so it's a complete culture change. And so we had several schools last night get their Cobb STEM certification. But as it relates to Lindley, when Dr. Dana Giles was the principal at Lindley, we started a STEM academy for our 7th and 8th graders. And we're excited about it because now there's a pathway into the now STEM Academy at Pebblebrook High School. So when Dr. G decided, when Dr. G was reassigned to Pebblebrook High School as the principal, she began implementing a STEM academy. So now we have a pathway of success for our STEM students from middle school to high school. And so our partnership with Georgia Power allowed Dr. G, her team at Pebblebrook, her team and the team, Dr. Elena Wilson's team at Lindley Middle School, an opportunity to get some professional development from the Ron Clark Academy during their STEM training. And so we were able to bring that into our community. And so we are super, super, super excited about that. I know that I'm waiting to hear all the great things that are happening and debrief with everyone to see what they got out of it. I'm just excited to see that. And I just want to thank again, Ms. Odessa Archibald. I want to thank Ms. Deborah Pendergrass for thinking of South Cobb and our schools here in this particular part of the county. Pebblebrook High School, Lindley Middle School in particular, for affording us this opportunity. This was, again, through our partnership and through relationships that we are developing to grow STEM within our academic community, within the Pebblebrook High School cluster. And so thank you again for that, and we appreciate you. And we will follow up on, some of the takeaways from that, and we'll report that back to each of you as well. So, all right, it looks like we have, good morning. Good morning, Stephanie. We appreciate you joining us today. Thank you. So we're going to jump right into it. We had a lot of stuff going on yesterday in our meeting. One of the items I want to talk about was an agenda item, and it was an agenda item number 2, and it was about a cell phone tower contract that we had extended. We amended the lease agreement for this tower, and basically the cell phone towers are at North Cobb High School, Walton High School, and also Floyd Middle School. And so Floyd Middle School is not in Post 3 specifically, but it is in Mableton. And as a result of that, that is why I brought it to the table today as we're discussing with the Mableton community about things that are happening specifically in Mableton, Austell, and Powder Springs. But that contract was extended, or renegotiated rather, and we're looking at increased revenue by 15% for each successive 5-year term. So we're thankful for the opportunity to have those cell phone towers and that additional revenue that may come with that. And so we did approve that on yesterday as well. The next thing that I would like to discuss quickly, because I want to get to some other stuff that has a little more importance, but I want to make sure that I address some of these high level items. We addressed our legislative priorities for 2022. And basically, we have 3 buckets that our priorities fall into: financial sustainability being one of them, educational access being number 2, and accuracy and accountability. And those are the 3 buckets that our priorities, our legislative priorities, fall into. And when I say legislative priorities, I'm simply saying these are the things that we are going to be lobbying the state and our state legislator for on behalf of the Cobb County School District. And so we will have a meeting with the Cobb delegation and our elected officials here in Cobb County, Erica Thomas being our House District Representative in 39, for those that are in like the Mableton Austell area, David Wilkerson, Eric Allen, some of those that represent us here along the southern portion of the county. And then we also have Doc Red, Coracina Tate is on the Senate side. All of our legislators around the county, they're known as the Cobb delegation, those that represent us inside of Cobb County. Our superintendent will be meeting with them on December the 7th, and they will have a meeting to discuss these legislative priorities on behalf of the Cobb County School District, so that when they're making those decisions and voting on things from a state level, that they have these priorities in their minds based on what's going to be important and what's going to be necessary for us as a school district to continue providing the excellent education for all of our students here in Cobb County. So part of that, those legislative priorities, and the superintendent will put this out, but we did discuss it last night. It talked about austerity cuts to fully fund QBE. And I won't go into all these technical details. You're going to have to go back to the meeting because they give definitions and more context to some of this stuff. But again, we oppose diversion of funds from public education, vouchers, scholarship accounts, and things of that nature. and we can discuss that one. We're probably going to have a forum in regards to that and educational alternatives and options. We will discuss that probably January, I think, is when we're going to discuss it, because that's when it's probably going to be out legislatively. But we will discuss that because in our community, we have two different thought processes. And so I would like for us to have a town hall to discuss it, because again, as I'm working on public education here in the southern portion of the county, I need to know what else is out there and what families are running to and looking for as far as alternatives and options are concerned, so that we can have a balanced conversation in regards to that. Fulfill the remaining 2,000 teacher raise commitment. Governor Kemp, when he got elected, said he's given $5,000 to teachers, and I believe we've given 3 so far. And so we're asking for the remaining 2,000 to be distributed. Some education access items, provide a mechanism for remote milestone administration. I heard from many of you when we were administering milestones while we were virtual, and we had to send our kids into the building if you were not a face-to-face parent, and there was a lot of contention and a lot of concern around having to go to the building to take the test. And so we'll be looking at trying to support parents in regards to that concern. Provide equal funding for virtual students. So virtual students are not funded in the same capacity as face-to-face students. And so we're going to be advocating for that. Establish an alternative diploma pathway is one of them. Sustained teacher retirement, which is the TRS system, which is as it is currently structured. And then, of course, accuracy and accountability. We're going to be looking at revising SB 68. And this is more for a board function to provide quarterly financial updates instead of monthly. So SB 68 said that now school boards must now provide monthly reports to the Board of Education. And if you've been watching our meetings, our CFO has been doing an excellent job of trying to explain why certain items say negative and waiting on funds to come in and all that kind of stuff. And so quarterly seems to be a better model, so that you're not having to look at the negative and then project in your mind that, by the end of the quarter, it's not going to look the same way. And so that's one of the items that's on here. And apply the same standards of accountability to all the recipients of public money for education. And again, that has a lot to do with when we talk about some of those alternatives, those private programs that have vouchers and scholarships and things of that nature. So that was our legislative priorities. Then we also have, this was not on the agenda. So if you're looking at like the actual agenda, you won't see it on there. But when we came out of the executive session, the Board of Education amended the superintendent contract. So it was, again, another split vote 4-3 in regards to that particular item that came up for vote. So that's that. And we can discuss that later. But in the interim, that did happen. Public comment. Let's see. Let's go with public comment. We had maybe about 6 or 7 in both sessions. And so we're going to quickly go through the public commenters. All right. In the first session, in our work session, Ms. Toba Ringland, as you know, if you've been watching the meetings, Toba has come for several, almost probably a year or so now, monthly to discuss and just to advocate for our special needs children. And so true to what she does, she has come again to speak in regards to special education in the least restrictive environment. And she made mention, and this is something I'm probably going to look into, because I remember this being a concern, and maybe it's still a concern, that some of the students that receive specialized services, they're having to be on buses for sometimes an hour one way and sometimes an hour another way. And so there's no educational programming within their individual community. And so the children are having to be bused, for a long amount of time to a school that actually provides that specific service for the student. And so I want to look into that a little more. So thank you for bringing that to our attention, Ms. Ringland. Aaron Saylor, he wanted to talk about resolution on racism. And it was a very short public comment, but the public comment was simply, was the resolution on racism to condemn racism or to demonstrate it? And that was his statement. I was like, whoa. But that was his comment. So thank you, Mr. Saylor, for sharing. Christy Miner came and she wanted to talk about the Nuremberg Code, and she actually left us with some documentation in regards to the Nuremberg Code. And for those that would like more information on it, I will give you the spelling. Nuremberg code, and it's really in regards to vaccinations. And so that's another thought process that is out within the community. And so she wanted to share that with us on today in regards to vaccines. Ms. Charlotte Lopez came. She wanted to talk about anti-Semitism and racism, and she came to thank the board for the resolution on anti-Semitism and racism. Then we had let's see, that was Mindy Seeger. Mindy Seeger. No, that was Charlotte Lopez that wanted to talk about the anti-Semitism and racism. Then we had Mindy Seeger, who is a parent here in Cobb, and she wanted to talk about accountability. And really, this one was talking about removing the No Place for Hate programming that we've had in our schools prior to this year. And so she wanted to talk about that and making sure that we have what we need to support our students in regards to programming. And so we thank you for coming. She actually gave us a nice document for us to read through. And so I'm thankful for that, to read through that information on today. And then Miss Caroline Hoko, she's been a regular at our board meetings, and she was advocating for vaccine clinics in schools. And she also talked in regards to her concerns with a newsletter that is presented by one of our board members. All right. And then in the evening session, we've had at the 7 o'clock or 7:15 session, we were a little behind. We had 7 people to come. The first being Stacy Efrat, who is a Post 5 resident, but she's also with a group called Watching the Funds Cobb. And she wanted to talk about transparency of the school board and questionable practices around purchases and communication. The second person was Doug Smith. He has an 8th grader at Dodgen Middle School. And he has some concerns around COVID protocols for school trips, because I believe they had a trip to Disney planned, and I assume it got canceled due to COVID guidelines and things of that nature. And so he wanted to ask that the decision be reversed. And later in the evening, our superintendent discussed that some of those protocols were for a certain time, and so that they will be revisiting some of those protocols, so that, it's a possibility, I don't know, that maybe some of these mandates as far as how many children in a room, or the high spread at Disney, all these different things, mitigating factors around COVID, can be addressed that are more appropriate with the time that we're currently in. So we thank the superintendent for looking into that. Ralph Bruce, a resident of Cobb, he wanted to talk about CRT and its problems. And he actually gave us a little book to read. And he said that CRT is divisive and communist in nature. All right. Number 4, Ms. Heather Toller Bauer. She's been coming a lot lately as well. She's part of the group Watching the Funds Cobb. And she wanted to discuss, she discussed first that the United States, that we are a republic. And she also addressed the newsletter by David Banks, but then also they addressed that now that SPLOST passed, that they will be continue to watch how funds are spent here in the Cobb County School District, your tax dollars. Okay, number 5 is I think it's Corinne Sunderman, and she came and she wanted to talk in regards to CRT and vaccines, and she also mentioned SPLOST and gave congratulations on behalf of SPLOST passing. Also gave congratulations to the Braves. Then she talked about politics on the board, referencing COGNIA, about CRT, and also about vaccinations. Number 6 was Mr. Austin Heller. He's actually a candidate for Post 4, Cobb County School District Board of Education. And he wanted to talk about early literacy concerns and promoting practices or science-based reading practices, such as Orton Gillingham training, versus some of the systems that we currently use, the System 44 Read 180 program, and also advocating for more reading specialists. And then last but not least, Ms. Jessica Page Bergeron. She lives in Post 7, and she's a former educator. And she came to discuss solutions around how we can better work together as a school district and community. And her main point was reversing the waiver that the school district took up with the Georgia Department of Education in regards to waiving school councils. And so she advocated for school councils, gave a brief overview of what school council did and how it's a policy level advisory panel that brought parents to the table to discuss those things that are within our individual communities. And so she advocated for that to come back. And so that was public comment. I do want to take time to read this one public comment because a young man by the name of Jacob Hay wanted to come and speak, but of course he was underage, and so he couldn't speak. But he was able to print off his public comment and have it presented to the board. And so, thank you, Jacob. I appreciate you sending us your thoughts. His thoughts were around, and these were policy recommendations. And so it was exciting to see one of our young people interested in policy. Financial literacy training being mandated for all high school students. Mental health training should be mandatory for all staff. And there should be a county-wide mental health week wherein students receive education about mental health. And then also racial sensitivity training should be mandatory for all staff. And there should be a week dedicated to teaching about modern day racism and biases. And then he went on to give some rationale for that. This was, very well put together. And so thank you for this. I'll take some time to read and go through this information as well, Mr. Jacob Hayes. So we appreciate you for that. All right. Superintendent comments. We had 4 condolences when the superintendent gave 4 condolences on behalf of the Board of Education and the superintendent's office. I think there was 2 students that passed, and then we also had 2 employees, I believe 2 bus drivers. One passed away to COVID, and another passed away to a heart attack. And so we are praying for those families, for the students and their families, and also for those employees that have passed away as well. Then we also discussed our football playoffs, and we're excited about that. 9 out of the 16 high schools that have football programs here in the Cobb County School District, 9 of them are in the playoffs. And of course, down here in the southern portion of the county, Go Brook, Pebblebrook High School's football team is also participating in the playoffs. So we're excited. I do believe there's a game tonight at Pebblebrook High School against Parkview. And if you haven't gotten your tickets, many of you know it sells out quick. Pebblebrook is under construction. There's not a lot of seating at Pebblebrook as it is like it is at other high schools. So those tickets tend to sell out quickly. We've had to turn people away at the gates for the last couple of weeks because we've had a very great football season. And so make sure that you get online and get those tickets immediately as soon as possible. All right. The other thing that I want to discuss is, let's see what else we have here. We have the district last night released the COGNIA report, and we did not talk about it as a board as of yet, and it hasn't been approved by the board or anything like that. But that report was released last night. Many of you may have saw an article written in the MDJ in regards to it, a very detailed article. Actually, I learned a lot from the article. It was more information in the article than I had. So it was interesting to read that. And but the COGNIA report is available. It is on the Cobb County School District webpage under the COGNIA tab. I am inviting each and every one of you to read it in its entirety, to understand exactly what is in it. It did, I believe it had 4 points of concern from the COGNIA review. And after the review, they were able to come back with some best practices or some support for the Cobb County School District on how we move forward. Our accreditation is not in any jeopardy. We are fully accredited as we have always been, but there are some areas of concern that they would like for us to address. And so you can read through that on that particular report. And so again, please go to the Cobb County School District webpage, pull up the COGNIA report. I believe the report is there. I haven't checked this morning, but I was told it would be there. And we will have an actual town hall right after Thanksgiving to actually go through the COGNIA report together. So those of you that may have questions and concerns, you will have between now and then to read through it, ask questions, and most of you know how to get in contact with me. Get in contact with me. We can discuss it. As your elected representative, I need to hear your feedback so I can help present the feedback to our superintendent, his leadership cabinet, and to our other 6 Board of Education members in regards to post 3 and those of us that live here in the southern portion of the county in regards to it. But it is about a 16-page report. Actually, it's an easy read, but it's not an easy read. So make sure you spend some time with it. And so that is the least of the everything that pretty much happened yesterday in regards to our Board of Education meeting. And then after the meeting, the COGNIA report was released yesterday evening. But as I said, the MDJ reported on it early this morning. And so please take time to read all of that information as well. Any questions, comments, concerns? All right, we're going to take a few minutes with that. And then if not, what we're going to do is make sure that we get the flyer ready. I'm not sure if we're going to do it virtual or if we're going to do it in person in regards to the COGNIA Town Hall, but we will have that very shortly so that we can go through it. And then once we do that, I'll be able to compile that information. And again, I'll be able to share it. Yes. Thank you, Laura. You're upset about the stars and bars comment. First, Laura, let me first say I appreciate your service. Yesterday was Veterans Day, and I appreciate your service to our country as a veteran. And I can understand why you would be upset about the stars and bars comment. And what Ms. Judge is referencing is yesterday in our meeting, our superintendent was making comments in regards to it being Veterans Day and wishing all of them a great Veterans Day and advice that they do. As Randy Scammahorn, our board chair, has said, and if you see a veteran, shake their hand, tell them thank you. And so, Laura, I am saying thank you. But the superintendent also made a comment, and I believe what was the intention was he was saying stars and stripes, but what actually came out was stars and bars. And as we were moving on, he actually stopped and apologized for the statement and then made the correction that he meant to say stars and stripes, not necessarily stars and bars. So again, on behalf of the superintendent, on behalf of the Board of Education, I want to personally say thank you for your service and apologize again as well on behalf of the stars and bars comment versus it with the intention based on superintendent comments being stars and stripes. And so and I do understand why that can be upsetting for many of us, in regards to especially around Veterans Day. Any other comments, any other concerns, challenges, anything you want to bring to the table? All right. Well, I appreciate it. Everyone knows how they can get in contact with Trey. Coffee Talk with Trey at gmail.com. Trey for Cobb Schools at gmail.com. You can also go to the Cobb County School District webpage, look under board members. You will find Leroy Trey Hutchins. You can click there, and it also has my contact information, thutchins.boardmember@cobbk12.org. And you can reach me there. I also have a board phone. So there's a number there. It's a 470 number. Please forgive me. I do not have it memorized, where you can also reach me if you want to have conversation. I am always open for conversation and to discuss. Thank you, Ms. Baines. I appreciate you joining us this morning. And so, yes, we're here to, again, be the liaison between the community and the Cobb County School District. And please share your concerns, your thoughts. Let me give an update. Those of you that worked on the Pebblebrook High School cluster plan, where it included all of our elementary schools, the middle schools, and the high schools, and Pebblebrook High School, we were able to present that to district leadership a couple of weeks ago. And many of the things that were in the report, the report was received well. A lot of things that we discussed look like they may be actionable items. And so we will have a follow-up and a timeline in which we're going to address some of those things that are actionable. I'm excited to report that back, that is the case. I also spoke with the superintendent briefly in regards to some of the items that is discussed in that particular plan. And again, we're excited to say that based on conversations, there seems to be some actionable items where we can move forward in the immediate future to improve what we have going on in the Pebblebrook cluster. So I am excited about that. And those of you in the South Cobb High School cluster, and also in the Powder Springs, I would say the McEachern cluster, but I don't represent McEachern, but I represent those elementary and middle schools that feed into McEachern. We will be working with the city of Powder Springs and an education committee that will be created with the city of Powder Springs to address the Powder Springs schools, elementary schools, Compton Elementary, Powder Springs Elementary, and those middle schools, Cooper, Tapp Middle School. And so we'll be getting together. And so we will probably compile a similar report, because we have a template that we've used for the Pebblebrook portion. We're going to do the same for the South Cobb High School. We're going to do the same for the Powder Springs schools. And so I believe Councilwoman Patricia Wisdom is helping me with that. And we're going to get parents together in the Powder Springs area as well to discuss those schools. And so we're excited about that work that's coming so that we can be a part of the process. I see a woohoo. Yes, Unita. This is specific for those of you on that side of town. So yes, thank you. And again, Larissa, this is again awesome news. That report was received well. There are some action items that came out of it, and so we are excited about it. And so we're going to duplicate the same thing. This and while I understand the comment that was made yesterday by Ms. Paige Bergeron in regards to school councils, these reports came from school council members. It came from PTA leaders and parents in the community and even educators who live within our communities. And so we thank you for putting that work together. And like I said, we're going to do the same thing for the South Cobb High School community and the same for the Powder Springs community. And what's unique about the Powder Springs community, again, it is exciting that we're going to be able to do it along with City Council. And so, because again, City Council, I received many emails in regards to the people that live, the families that live within Powder Springs, having concerns around the development of the Powder Springs schools. And so they've come to City Council, and City Council is always referring them to me. And so what we're going to do is we're going to collectively come together to address some of those concerns and put together a similar package so that the district is aware of what the community voice is and some of the things that we would like to see as our children are matriculating through our schools. And so, Nate, yes, this is great news. And so Nate and I will be debriefing soon, Nate. So we need to schedule some time to get together so that we can be on the lookout for some of those action items that I discussed, timeframes, and moving forward with some of that stuff. So Nate is the education chair for the Mableton Improvement Coalition. He's also the vice president of the Mableton Improvement Coalition. And so we are thankful for your work in ensuring that Mableton schools are excellent schools. And so we will be discussing shortly on how we'll move forward. Speaking of Mableton schools, I don't want to get off here without at least expressing congratulations. Mableton Elementary received a large grant to improve they're already one of our first STEM programs, STEM certified, state certified, STEM schools, and they really are a leader in STEM, but they're now receiving monies to and so we're excited about that they are now bringing in the art integrated piece into their STEM platform. And so they will be looking at expanding into a STEAM school. And so we're excited about the work that's happening at Mableton Elementary and their expansive program around STEM and STEAM. So, excuse me. So we're excited about that. All right. Any other questions, comments, concerns? We're going to get out of here. Nate, call me so we can discuss this forum on how we can get that going and move forward with that. And in the interim, everybody, please enjoy your weekend. Know that Thanksgiving is coming up soon. We will have a whole week off for that. And then a few weeks later, and literally a couple weeks later, we will be out for our winter holiday, for our a winter break. And so we only have a few weeks left in this semester. So those of you that are working with your students closely, let's make sure that they get those grades up and finish strong, because we're literally in the last of this semester. So let's finish strong, and I will see most of you soon and talk with you, many of you soon. And until then, enjoy your weekend. Love you guys, and we'll talk soon. All right. All right, here we go.